Hey folks, today I want to share with you something that's taking place in one of our Canadian provinces in a place called Manitoba. 7 churches in Manitoba are suing the provincial government to loosen their restrictions so that these churches can gather without restriction. Now, what they argue, and I want to make sure that I quote this, is they argue that the restrictions are turning churchgoers' lives upside down and that they're causing tremendous mental and spiritual hardship. Now, right off, let's just remember that the restrictions that are in place all across the planet, hopefully helping us deal with this pandemic, many people are experiencing tremendous mental hardship. This is not an easy place for many of us to be. For many, many, many people, this is an incredibly difficult time. It's filled with loneliness, it's filled with isolation, it's filled with fear, it's filled with confusion, it's filled with massive amounts of information bombarding down upon us. It's a very, very complicated time. If this were somebody suing a province with these claims, a person, I wouldn't be offering this conversation. I wouldn't be offering this reflection about that argument, because that argument speaks to where that person is and where they desire not to be. But in this case, we're talking about churches. We're talking about very, very few churches in a fairly large province who are making these claims. The church has a role during this pandemic. And you've heard me say before that I don't believe we need to actually come together as a congregation to worship and to practice our faith, to practice our religion. But we do have a role in moments like this. The church has a role in times of confusion, in times of hardship. And that role is to be a soothing balm for those in need. We are called to be there for people in need. Not just members of our congregation, as a matter of fact, quite the opposite. We are called to be there for people who aren't members of our congregation. We are called as the entirety of our congregation to go out into the world in some capacity to help people, to lessen their loneliness, to lessen their isolation, to be a soothing voice, to offer words of comfort, to offer our energy and our time and whatever gifts we have to help them through. But here we have churches, congregations, making these claims. And what that tells me is they've missed something. They've missed something in their development. The New Testament tells us life is hard. The New Testament tells us we are going to experience trouble. We are going to experience suffering. We are going to experience hardship. As Christians, we are going to experience some really, really difficult times in our life, like everybody else. But as Christians, we have something, a faith. And it is through the practice of this faith during these times of suffering, during these times of hardship, that faith actually grows. See, we don't rush into suffering. We don't rush into finding sources of pain. This isn't about, being a masochist, where we're looking for something to harm us, where we're looking for something to cause us trouble. But the Bible does tell us when trouble comes, to reframe it, to change our perception of it, to recognize it for what it is, to acknowledge it for what it is, and then to use it as an opportunity for growth, to use what comes as an opportunity to develop, to increasingly develop our trust in God, to allow our relationship with God through Christ to grow deeper. These churches could see the world this way. They could see this as that opportunity. They could see this as a potential treasure trove. They could see this, as many other churches do, as an opportunity to take on a new and incredibly important purpose, where we're reaching out into the community, into the lives of those people who are lonely outside of our congregation, and offering them the comfort and the support that we would ask Christ to offer us. It's an opportunity for us to engage the communities around us as Christ would engage them, to love them as He loved us. These churches, in their mental and spiritual hardship, they're missing an opportunity. They're missing an opportunity because they're looking at the wrong people. They're looking to the wrong community. They're looking inward. They're looking inward at what's going on for them, whereas Jesus tells us to be looking outward at what's going on in the lives of our neighbors. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face be made to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord's countenance be lifted up to you. May you always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. And I pray that as we encounter moments where we are suffering, when we are feeling pain, when we are feeling confusion, we're feeling overwhelmed, that we'll shift and we'll try to see these moments as opportunities, as catalysts for our growth and development. Amen.